Everybody, welcome to the regular meeting of the City Council and Needles Public Utility Authority for the City of Needles, California. Thursday, October 12th, 2021. We had an executive session. I want the city attorney report out the executive session.
Yes, Mayor. So the first item that the council met session on was item A, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code 54956.9D1. In re City of Needles versus CR8 Development et al. 1205 East Broadway, and its case number CIV SB 2108481. There was reportable action taken on that item. And on that case, there was a vote to approve a settlement of that matter, where the city would be settling for $8,762.39. And the vote was unanimous, with the mayor voting in favor of the settlement, Vice Mayor Padgett voting yes, Councilmember Belt yes, Councilmember Evans yes, Councilmember Campbell yes, Councilmember Merritt yes, and Councilmember Longacre yes. The second item was conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1. And that's in re the City of Needles versus Wilma Smith. And that's regarding 203 Market Street, and that's case number CIV DS 2021967. And there was reportable action on that item as well. And in that case, there was a motion to approve a settlement for $14,272.36. And the vote was Mayor Williams, yes, Vice Mayor Padgett, yes, Councilmember Belt, yes, Councilmember Evans, yes, Councilmember Campbell, yes, Councilmember Merritt, yes, and Councilmember Longacre, yes. And then the third item, item C, was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, regarding Government Code Section 54956.9D4, in re 507 C Street. And there was reportable action on that item. And that was to approve a settlement and the sum of $10,253.04. And the vote was Mayor Williams, yes, Vice Mayor Padgett, yes, Councilmember Belt, yes, Councilmember Evans, yes, Councilmember Campbell, yes, Councilmember Merritt, yes, and Councilmember Longacre, yes. And then the next item was item D. And that was conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D4, in re 1908 Peru Street. And there was reportable action on that. And that was to settle the matter for $2,000. And the vote was Mayor Williams, yes, Vice Mayor Padgett, yes, Councilmember Belt, yes, Councilmember Evans, yes, Councilmember Campbell, yes, Councilmember Merritt, yes, and Councilmember Longacre, yes. The next item on closed session agenda was item E, conference with legal counsel. And by the way, on all of those matters that I just went over, all those settlements were negotiated with the named party, and they were agreeable to it. And it's now been approved by the council. The next item was item E, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9D1, in re City of Needles versus James Babin et al., California Superior Court case number CIV SB 2111423. There was no reportable action on that item, and Councilmember Campbell is recusing herself from that item because she learned this evening that her office does some work with a party that's involved in some way in that matter. But there was no reportable action on it. Item F, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Agency negotiator, city manager Rick Daniels or its designee, negotiating parties, the City of Needles as potential seller, and Armor Matavosian as potential buyer of a portion of property described as a 4-acre portion of an undeveloped parcel generally located on San Clemente across the Needles Riverview Cemetery, APN 0185234260000 under negotiation were price and terms. There was no reportable action taken. Item G, conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Agency negotiator, city manager Rick Daniels or his designee. The negotiating parties are Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railroad as a potential seller, and City of Needles potential buyer with funding from Slyman B. Cyanetti of a portion of the property described as a 9.1 acre vacant parcel generally located at the southeast corner of Eagle Pass Road and South Street, APN 0185091140000 under negotiation were price and terms. There was no reportable action taken. The next one, Vice Mayor Padgett recused himself from that matter and stepped out of the room because his greenhouse that he owns is located a little more than 500 feet away from this piece of property. That item was conference with real property negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. Agency negotiator, city manager Rick Daniels or his designee. The negotiating parties, the City of Needles as potential seller, the Fort Mojave Indian Tribe as potential buyer of a portion of a property described as a 1.79 acre vacant parcel generally located at the northwest corner of Smokestack Road and North K Street, APN 0185058140000. Under negotiation were price and terms. There was no reportable action. The next item is I, and that was conference with labor negotiator pursuant to Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency designated representative, city manager Rick Daniels, the unrepresented employee, the assistant city manager, development services director, and Mr. Martinez, Patrick Martinez, recused himself on that item and stepped out of the room because it concerned him. There was no reportable action on that item. Item J, public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Title of position, city clerk, no reportable action taken on that item. And that concludes the report after closed session.
Thank you. Before I call the meeting to order and then roll call, would you please stand for the invocation and pledge of allegiance? Dear Lord, we thank you for letting us gather and take care of the city's business. Always let us keep you in the forefront of our thoughts and do what's best for our citizens in the community. Lord, we're all dressed in pink as our Breast Cancer Awareness Month meeting, and I'd like to pray for all those who are suffering with this disease, and please help them that can get better, get better. We love you, Lord. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
In your honor, I was requested to announce that the meetings are being recorded.
That's right. So, I don't know if you all heard the city clerk, but we have to announce that these meetings are being recorded. I need an approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second that.
Call for the vote.
Question.
Off the consent. What's that? When it comes up on the consent, pull up when we address it on the consent. Okay. We have a motion to second. Call for the vote.
Thank you. 6 ayes. Councilmember Campbell. Councilmember Campbell.
Oh, yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Pageant.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any conflicts of interest on the rest of this agenda? No. Correspondence, Dale?
None, your honor.
Okay. City Attorney's Parliamentary Procedures.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, back in 1998, the council adopted rules of procedure that govern these meetings. And so I'm going to go over some of the key provisions of those rules of procedures that apply tonight. First, the mayor or presiding officer is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all times. No person should speak who has not first been recognized by the chair. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the chair. A council member, once recognized, shall not be interrupted while speaking unless called to order by the presiding officer. No member shall be allowed to speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member choosing to speak thereon shall have spoken. Members of the public attending council meetings shall observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to the council.
Thank you. As a courtesy to those in attendance, we ask you to set your cell phones to their silent mode or off, please. We're going to recess the city council meeting and convene a joint meeting, MPUA meeting called to order. Public comments pertaining to the council MPUA items. 3-minute time limit has been established. So then we'll move on. A 10-minute time limit per presentation has been established by the Municipal Government Code 2-18. First item is presentation by Michael Land, Hydrologist, California Water Science Center, United States Geological Survey regarding groundwater flow and estimation of total. Yes, sorry.
Public comment.
No, we did public comments. Didn't see any. Not reference these items. Council MPUA items. Is this reference to council MPUA items?
This is for public experience.
We're not having that yet. We're in the MPUA, the city council portion, and we just did it for those items, and we'll have the public comments in just a few.
Correct, John? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Regarding groundwater flow and estimation of total dissolved concentrations near the Lower Colorado Water Supply Project in Imperial County of California. Go ahead, sir. You're up. Mr. Lane?
Don't we always do public appearance first?
We got this guy now. He's going first.
We did.
The way
We
the agenda was structured, we went to the NPUA city council instead of going strictly to city council. So I had the public appearance into the city council portion of the meeting.
It's at number 5.
Go ahead.
Michael, please unmute yourself. You are currently muted. Up top by the microphone where it says leave.
Okay.
Third one over up top, at the very top of your screen, the team meeting.
Yes. Can you,
There you go.
can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was talking on my phone. Apologies. I'm going to just talk right into the computer now. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes. All right, very well. So again, thank you for your time. The proposal before you will conclude an ongoing USGS investigation, which began in 2009, of water pumped by the Lower Colorado Water Supply Project in the East Mesa area of Imperial County. The main issue, what I want to talk to you tonight about, that USGS will address here is forecasting the salinity of water pumped by the project over the next 75 years. The results from this study will help inform decision makers on how best to allocate future project resources. And as you know, the project now includes 4 groundwater production wells, which can extract up to 10,000 acre-feet of water per year to make up for upstream diversions. The project water is conditionally returned to the All-American Canal, provided that the total dissolved solids concentration in the discharge is less than 879 milligrams per liter. Now, although this water quality criteria has been suspended temporarily, of primary concern is the occurrence of high TDS water exceeding the threshold in the portions of the East Mesa area. A quantitative assessment of the project's ability to meet this salinity requirement in the future requires a detailed understanding of the groundwater flow system and temporal conditions in which the project operates. So some questions that we're going to consider. What's the quality of the current water? What's the depth of water and how is that changing? What's the source of the water at the project wells? What are the physical properties of the aquifer? How might the mound of relatively fresh seepage prior to the lining of the All-American Canal change over time? And most importantly, if the project wells could be impacted by this high TDS water, how long before that actually occurs? So to answer these questions, three-phase science plan was formulated in 2009. And next screen. Phase one began with an initial characterization of the study area and monitoring of the groundwater system, and it concluded with a scientific investigations report by USGS. And during the years between that and today, phase one monitoring has continued at a much lower intensity. And those results have been permanently archived on the USGS National Water Information Systems database. You look to the screen here to the right, the area that's outlined in yellow is where we will be focusing our attention during phase two and phase three of the investigation. And just for quick reference, the purple outline here is the actual phase one study area. The blue area, the line here is the lined portion of the parallel All-American Canal, and then white circles here are these project wells. So phase two and phase three have been combined under a single agreement in the proposal before you. And the scope of this work includes the following. One, new data collection and evaluation of existing data not already captured during the phase one work. Secondly, a comprehensive investigation of groundwater, including water quality and its relation to the project wells, into what we call a conceptual understanding of the groundwater flow system. And three, the development and application of a numerical three-dimensional groundwater flow model. The timeline and costs for this investigation, the phase 2-3 study will be conducted over a period of 4.5 years, and USGS proposes to contribute about $300,000 in federal cooperative matching funds towards this investigation, with a balance of $2.4 million to the city. Our science plan includes 7 distinct tasks for addressing the scope. The first 2 tasks address data gaps. Task 1's focused on data not already compiled during phase 1. In particular, we're going to be acquiring hydrologic data from the Mexicali Valley. Task 2 includes several new efforts, including the construction of 2 multiple well monitoring sites to depths of about 900 feet and 1,200 feet to address some data gaps in the study area. Also install 2 shallow wells to quantify ongoing seepage, which is occurring in an unlined portion of the All-American Canal near Interstate 8. And thirdly, just some supplemental geophysical logging of 2 pilot wells that Reclamation constructed in advance of the 3rd and 4th project wells a few years ago. Tasks 3, 4, and 5 all kind of run together in this conceptual understanding that I mentioned earlier. The hydrologic analysis includes looking at, all the water levels analysis, flow contours, creating a water budget. The groundwater geochemistry, we will do a comprehensive sampling of all new and existing wells with an expanded analytical schedule. And we'll be seeking to identify the potential chemical reactions and the controlling factors which may have an effect on the flow of groundwater. And the third part of that is this hydrogeologic framework. That is what's the geometry of the aquifer and the textual variations within the units. And we already have a great head start on this. Some work that USGS and Reclamation did about 15 years ago for the Yuma Valley, which will just simply be extended into the East Mesa area by just adding more data points. So those three things all kind of work towards this combined comprehensive analysis, which will provide really valuable input for and constraints to this numerical groundwater flow model, which leads us to task 6, in which we will utilize established USGS model code and programs to develop this 3-dimensional simulation of the groundwater flow, and that will include a special solute transport package, which will then be used to estimate these future total dissolved solids concentrations of the water that's actually going to be captured by the project wells in the future. And then we have a final task, which is kind of combines reports and communications and archiving to document all the methods and the results of this investigation. So just to kind of close here, some deliverables. The city will be provided with 2 deep multiple well monitoring sites, which will not only address these immediate data gaps, but also be suitable for long-term sentinel monitoring of the project wells. And a number of USGS publications are proposed, a data release with this newly compiled information, but also a pair of scientific investigations reports. The first, which will describe this hydrogeologic or the aquifer framework, and a second scientific investigations report describing the 3-dimensional groundwater flow model and the solute transport. And then we'll have regular updates to the project website. And then all this stuff will be archived and documented for future use. So that was pretty quick, and I apologize for talking so fast, but I just want to end it with a couple pictures here. If there's any questions about the proposal, I'm happy to take them now. But again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Donna.
Is the canal lined now?
Yes.
So is there a portion that is unlined
Yeah.
still?
Yeah.
So you'll be able to tell the difference on the two? Is that the comparison?
Well, yeah. So in this slide I have here in the top, second from the right, you see the newly lined canal and the old canal.
Mhm.
It's 23 miles are all lined except for 2 small sections here. I'm showing one here in this middle right, where the freeway crosses over. So it's a very small section, but it's important because it's very close to, or in proximity to, these the 3rd and 4th project wells which were drilled just a few years ago. So the seepage that is still occurring is very relevant to the operation of those wells 3 and 4. And here's this bottom right is just kind of another view of that same crossover area with the freeway. So we want to quantify that explicitly. What is that seepage?
Any other questions?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the city acts as the trustee for this Zion Trust account. It has $6.9 million in it. It is money that is generated by selling 8,500 acre feet to the Metropolitan Water District. When he says city, it's not the city government providing the $3 million. It is that trust fund of which we are the trustee.
Good.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that.
Any other questions? Ellen?
There were other people involved in this decision and everyone else has signed
Yes,
off on it.
all of the other
To sign off on it.
partners in this project have all recommended approval, and and USGS is the preeminent water model.
Go ahead, Wade.
So our recommendation is for approval.
Okay.
So in layman's term, Rick, so the public knows that the city is not paying $2.3 million.
That's right. It's not city funds, it's
That's funds put out there too.
Nothing, the city ratepayers will have to pay anything.
No.
Yeah, because
Zero.
Okay, we need to authorize the city manager to execute the U.S. Department of Interior U.S. Geological Survey Joint Funding Agreement for Water Resource Investigation.
I'll make
Move
that
to
motion.
approve.
We have a motion. We have a second. Sorry,
Is
guys.
there public comment on this item?
Are there any public comments, reference this item? Seeing none.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
7 ayes, Councilmember Campbell,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Paget,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good night.
MPA
Thank you for your
Council
time.
consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted. By one motion to form list, the mayor and member of this MPA City Council may pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion. Part of the MPA Council, actually, a member of the public may address the MPA City Council on matters scheduled on the consent calendar. A 3-minute time limit appropriation applies. Recommended actions: approve items 2 through 5 on the consent calendar by a firm roll call vote. Ellen, you want to pull 5?
I want to pull 5, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Wait, oh, you guys all wanted 5? Okay. We need a motion for 2, 3, and 4.
I move to approve 2, 3, and 4 on the consent calendar.
I second that.
Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Oh,
7 ayes, Councilmember Campbell,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Merritt,
Yes.
Williams.
Yes.
Paget,
Yes.
Belt,
yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, authorize Stantec Consulting Service to conduct a comprehensive alternative electric utility rate structure review at a cost not to exceed $41,000 paid with electric
Yes.
operating fund. Yeah.
Mayor, members of the council, we had Stantec, who is considered the best rate analyst in the state, worked with the ad hoc committee of the utility board, plus a couple councilors attended in that discussion last year as we developed the rates. The utility board is recommending to you that the utility look at different tier structure opportunities. And what that means is there are, for example, we pay right now $240,000 or $240 a megawatt for peak period power. At night, it's half that. So a tiered rate could encourage people to use the off-peak hours, that cheaper power, and therefore pay less. Because our rates have to be set based on the cost of us to do business. Another tier that might be available would be to serve out of city customers. For example, Park Milwaukee is outside the city and there are additional costs to serve Park Milwaukee. We have to lease a right of way from BLM. It's a line that is overloaded and there are additional costs that are distinct to them. So the utility board wants to look at those items and see if there are opportunities to better align the charges to people with the costs to provide that service. And so this is their recommendation and I concur with it. But and I've had conversation with some of the counselors that it may be feasible to do 10 different tiers, but we need to understand the impact to individuals as we do it. What's going to be the impact on senior citizens? What's going to be the impact on disabled? So there'll be kind of a social analysis, the demographic analysis kind of stuff. Because someone's going to save, someone's going to pay.
Ellen?
Thank you, Your Honor. That was one of my concerns. I talked to Rick about that today, is that going to a tier, I just moved here from the city on a 5-tier system, and it was horrific. And I look at Needles and the people who live here, and the largest demographic population we have in Needles is senior citizens and retired people. The second largest demographic population in our city are under 5 years old. So that means they're home with either parents or their grandparents, and they're using electricity all day long. And then you go below that and we have disabled people. We have people that are on aid. We don't have a lot of jobs. There's no childcare here. And so we have another demographic of people who are home. They're not working for whatever reason, and they are home all day long. And then you go below that and we have people who are working from home, and they are home all day long. And our hours are 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. And although I am all for, trying to figure out what the options are to kind of help our situation and not have to pay so much, the reality is we only pay for what we use. And that goes for every single one of us, no matter who is paying for electricity in this town. You're paying for what you're using. And the fact that I have been hit so hard this week with, oh my God, the marijuana companies are causing all this. No, they're not. Rainey's presentation showed that we get to buy a larger amount at a lesser amount because we are buying the larger amount. If we wipe them out, we wouldn't be buying as much, and our costs would actually be driven up higher. So we would pay more in essence. So that was one of the things I said to the utility, talking to someone from the utility, that, they used to have 3 people. They invited to not do the Brown Act thing where we're not appointed to that, which is what, when I asked for our ad hoc committee and to do the 6 people, it would have been a Brown Act, public meetings and hearings, and very complicated. They already have their ad hoc committee in place. But my question is, having said all of that information, is that in spending $41,000 to tell us what the tiers are, isn't Rainey capable of doing that?
No.
Okay, that's what I want to know. I mean, if that is something that, Rainey is so brilliant in everything she does, she's a magician with our electricity. I just wonder, before we entertain spending that much money, if there was another way we could do it. So I guess that was really my question.
Okay. Wade?
Okay, so I gotta agree. I don't want to spend this $41,000 to do this. Rainey had a presentation last meeting, correct? Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the issue got tabled. I'm really passionate about this because I've had so many people come up to me and talk to me about the electric rates and all the rates for that matter. There is other alternatives. There were other alternatives. Utility board could have looked at this years ago when our power purchase was so low. We could have purchased power at a long-term at a low rate, and then we could have sold it back and made money. They didn't do their job, in my opinion. Okay, so to go out there and say, you know what, now let's spend $41,000 to see what tiers, what tier system we can come up with, is a slap in the community's face. In my mind, it really is, and we got to look at other alternatives. I looked at one, and I'm going to keep working, but we got to look at other alternatives. And my opinion is we don't spend $41,000 to do this.
Kristen?
I really the reason I wanted to pull it is because I wanted to hear a little bit more information from the city manager and just kind of get everybody's take on it. It seems like a lot of money to spend to determine a tier system, but my question was similar to Ellen's in the sense, is there somebody that can do that with the city? So I guess it seems like quite a bit of money, but that's it.
Well, I don't want to spend this money because I don't think it's going to be approved by the city council to begin with when they come back with the tier system. One of the biggest selling points to industry and everything else is our equal rates all the way across the board, and it pays our overhead. It deals with it. We don't need to go to a tier system. Anybody else have any comments?
my only thoughts on that part is being able to have the options. I agree. I understand Wade's comment, though. I think that we have to have all the options in front of us to be able to make a decision on what's going to be best for the citizens. I mean, we can't go in the past. The past is the past. We can learn from it and try to make those decisions if we ever get those costs again or those prices again and think long-term to buy long-term. But at the same time, if there's other options out there, I mean, I think we should be presented with all the options before we say one thing's better than the other. I don't know that this is going to be bad or good. I don't really know the tier system. I mean, let's be honest, I don't know enough about it to say that I can make an educated decision at this vote right now, but I definitely don't know enough about the other projects that Wade's talking about either to say that that's going to work either. So I think we still need to be able to have everything in front of us with detailed information. So in order to get that, if we have to spend the money, or do we just get don't pay the money, but just give us a rundown of what a tiered system would look like? I mean, if we want to look at that, and then the options that we have. So maybe we can get on the agenda just the multiple options available with just the staff's basic report on it. I mean, I don't know if that's feasible without having an actual, this is the exact number.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
the reason I concurred with the utility board's recommendation to investigate tiers is that there was a lot of discussion about demand charges, and some utilities use them, some don't. But with the new meters that we're getting starting in March, by June, that we should have them all installed across the city, it'll tell us what the time of demand charges are, and we can compute who is affected by any change. It also, rates have a very strict protocol in order to set with Prop 218 requirements. We had, you want to make sure that there is a professional rate making analyst that has prepared that work. Because they could very well likely be on a witness stand in the event of litigation. If the council's not prepared to do this tonight, we can put it on the next agenda and give it time to think about, but our solid recommendation is to move forward.
Wade, go ahead.
Rick, good point on the new meters coming in, right? Come February, right? And you said we'll be able to tell the demand. A couple questions here. I don't know who can answer this. I know Rainey's not here right now. Justin maybe he'll answer it. As a privately owned municipality owned utility company, are we allowed to charge a demand or charge a tier system? Do you know that,
Yeah.
John?
I think I do, but Rick can also answer the
Okay,
question.
we are allowed to, either one, both?
Yes, well, they're somewhat interchangeable terms, because if you use as one of the tiers, when you consume the power, night or day, that can be one of the tiers.
Wouldn't that be, that's the definition of demand, right?
Yeah, right. You would pay based upon when you as the customer are demanding the power. And then another would be like if you're inside the city or out.
I get that part.
Yeah, okay.
But a tier system can also be from this kilowatt hour to this kilowatt hour, you're getting charged this much.
Right.
From this to this, you're getting charged this much.
Yeah.
That would be a tier system also, right? That's not a demand
Yes, sir.
charge, though.
Yes, sir.
It is a
Yes,
tier.
sir.
No.
But you have, what the Constitution, the state of California requires you to do is to identify, and we really have a two-tier system now. There's the hydro rate that everybody gets their share of that. And then there is the over hydro rate, the rate for the brown coal, nuclear gas. So we already have the two-tier system. But what you have to do is in order to create that second tier, you have to specify what cost you incur that allows you to charge that higher rate for the second tier. And that is the cost of that power. Instead of being $0.015 a kilowatt for hydro, it's 8 cents, or 7 cents. I don't rating.
I see. Yeah.
So but you have to quantify that there's a cost difference, which allows you to recoup that cost. And that's complex, but yeah,
So I would add, I agree with everything the city manager just said. What you're describing is a conservation tiered rate system. And it's intended to promote conservation, right? Based on how much usage there is. And there are different approaches that you can take, but it has to be, as Rick was explaining, under Prop 26, it has to be a cost-based system of charges. And what does cost include? It includes the cost of the power, but it also includes your overhead, your operation, maintenance, your depreciation of the assets that have to be replaced over time, a prudent reserve. And those are things that we have the burden as a joint powers agency. We have the burden to prove that our charges are cost-based and that they're reasonable, they're cost-based. And there are experts that determine what a legally justifiable charge, or if it's a tiered system are. And you know, my advice certainly would be anytime that you're adjusting rates, making changes to rates that of this nature, that you use somebody that's an expert in the field.
Any other comments, Ellen? Or go ahead, wait.
So back to this, the new meters coming in.
Mhm.
Don't you think that they would have this, if we were to okay this company at that time, it would be a lot easier for them to come in
No,
here?
what this company would do, Stantec, is they would be prepared to have rates set to where they could be implemented. But, you know, there's no house on fire. Let me be clear on that. We're just trying to parallel process the installation of the meters and getting a rate structure ready to handle that data. So it's just trying to feather those two things together.
Ellen?
One more comment, or question
Mhm.
for you. Isn't it true that we own our own electric company? The city owns it. And because we own it, we sell the electricity for what it costs us.
Right.
We do not make money on the electricity. We do not make money. We are not a for-profit company. We only can sell our electricity for exactly what it costs us, no more. So it is of no benefit because we can't do it. That's just it. Whatever we pay, that's what we charge our customers, everyone. That's it, across the board, no matter who they are. That's what it is. We do not make money on it. We just provide a service, and we have, and the overhead, and there's costs, and there's debt that has to be paid off. That in inquiring it, there's a large debt that we have to pay off. So there are expenses, and we have to cover all those expenses. So it's really a complicated issue. And I agree that we have to have a professional, do this, because this is what I was asking for, was to, look at options, have an ad hoc committee, but they've already done they've been involved in a 10-year plan. This, the 10-year plan and the rate increases, this has been going on for a long time. This didn't just happen last week or last month. This is 10-year plan in the making. And the ad hoc committee that they're using has been in place for 1 year already. So because they are the utility company and they're already working with someone, it behooves us just to go move forward and get that information. Because like John said, we can't make any changes without having that information. And then we can start looking at options and where we go.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Hey.
if I can add to that, I just want to remind the NPUA board and the council that your duty is to make sure that you have a sustainable utility and that it's financially sustainable. And that means that you're charging rates that are high enough to not only cover the cost of operating the utility today, but also planning for replacement of assets as they age out. And so just keep that in mind. It's not, if you have a system that's failing and that you're running around playing whack the mole, trying to keep it operating and you have outages, that's not really fulfilling your duty. Because if you have a system that fails, that's inadequate for the needs of the community as it grows, then what you're going to have is you're going to have rate shock. You're going to have that group of individuals that are ratepayers at that time when you have to make a major improvement or facility acquisition pay for it instead of spreading it out over time. And whenever you're setting rates, whether it be for electric, water, wastewater, you want to have gradual increases to keep up with the cost of operating a sustainable utility. And that's good fiscal management. If you keep it artificially low and then you have a big problem and you have a drastic increase, you can lose part of your population. So,
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
John, I 100% understand all that. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because I could be. I probably am. But the NPOA contract states that any profit is going to go to infrastructure and then ratepayers, correct? Is that,
there should be no profit under Proposition 26, Mayor. As you know, you're only allowed to charge the cost to provide the service, and that includes all the categories that I mentioned. But as Councilmember Campbell mentioned, it also includes payment of any debt service. So that's what it includes, and that includes a prudent reserve. That includes the cost to replace assets as they age out. You're not allowed to charge any more than that, because let's say you were making $5 million a year profit. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to make a profit.
That's what I was asking. If you do make a profit, under the NPUA contract, doesn't that have to go to infrastructure followed by ratepayers?
You would, if you had pure profit above all your depreciation costs, debt service, operation, all that, and you had just pure profit beyond a prudent reserve, then you would refund that to the ratepayers. But that hasn't been the case. And the history is, historically, up until recent years, the utilities weren't charging sufficient rates to operate. And so they didn't have adequate reserves. And that's where you get into situations where you have aging infrastructure that fails, you have a dramatic incident, and then you have, either somebody coming in to bail you out, or you have to increase rates dramatically, and that can have adverse consequences. So,
perfect, John, I want the public to know what you just said just now. That's why I asked you that, because a lot of these people don't understand that. I still do believe that there are other alternatives for us to help out the ratepayers, but a lot of people don't understand that we're not making a profit. And Ellen said it, we're not. And people don't understand that.
And if there's no comments from the council, I want to open up for public comment on this issue. Okay, we're going to open this for public comments. Go ahead, Sean.
Thank you, Thank you, Honorable Mayor and Council. As always, I'm speaking tonight as a private citizen of Needles who still invested in this community and cares about this community. And I think the first thing I want to say is Jeff hit the nail on the head. We got this cannabis industry here, and we said because we have a sustainable, cheap power, we charge you all the same. First, second, I want to touch on something Mr. Pinckney advised on, is about we're talking about a failing system. A failing system was long before cannabis, when we were going 3 to 4 days without an outage. And the third thing is Mrs. Campbell's correct, as in we bring in a tiered system for these people in the middle of the summer that can't go anywhere but inside their houses for their power. Are they supposed to just turn it up to 85, 90 when you're elderly? And no, there's a big system. Needles does not fit into a normal category. It's just, I don't know how to put it. Is you guys know this. For us to change it midstream when we have all this new cannabis coming in here, we have new residents we're up to change it midstream? What are we doing? Shoot ourselves in the foot. Right now, there's other options. It should be discussed, and I'm hoping it will be discussed, but this is only electric. Mr. Pinckney included utilities. This item is only for electric study. Let's do the right thing and let's leave it alone and figure the other options that keep what we have here. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Any other public comment on this issue? All right, seeing that, we'll close and come back to the council for a motion.
Well, I guess I have a thought, Mayor,
Mhm.
is God, this is kind of a rough one. I think I still am a little concerned though about outside of the city. That Rick brings up a good point on that. If it's costing us more to do business with you, then we therefore should, under actually Prop 26, right, be charging you more. So, I mean, technically we are not actually fulfilling that proposition. So are we therefore obligated to have some type of tier, meaning even if you're not saying tier for because we can choose that, correct me if I'm wrong, we can pick and choose which part of it we want to apply, right? So if there's other things that we as the city need to be better at, not necessarily the tiering of the electric for certain companies, but maybe for those in the city versus outside the city. I mean, I kind of think that's an option we should definitely be looking at. If you're costing us more, but we're still charging you the same rate as we're charging somebody that doesn't cost us anything monthly, that's not appropriate either. So, I mean, that's one thing that should be fixed anyways. So we should technically get that part under an actual legal tier system.
Wait.
And you said, do we pay for that easement? We pay the BLM for that easement?
Yeah, we have to lease the easement.
Wow. And so that costs us money right there alone.
Correct. Yeah.
Any
So
way we can make a land swap for that somewhere, that we own some property that's never gonna be used or something?
Councilor Evans, no, BLM has a very detailed protocols for lease of their right of way or of their land for public utility ways.
But I'm talking about a land swap. I'm talking about, we swap land, we give them some land that's useless to us and they give us that land. Like we did back in the, I think, the 50s, was it? When we gave all the Eagle Pass land away, we did a land swap there.
Yeah, there are land swaps and how you go through it is you figure out what the value of the land you have and you figure out the value of the land that they have. And dealing with the federal government, it has to be net positive to the federal government. And then it has to get into a bill and then approved by Congress.
Yeah, I know it'd be hard, but.
no, and
It's just long, but it's not, I mean, it would require some work, but it can be done, yes.
Donna?
But again, it would also cost money. So that would be legal fees would be inquired in order to maintain that. And we would be paying on that.
Ellen?
The ratepayers.
I have a question for John before I make a motion. My question is, in order to change our rates and start the increase plan or do whatever we're going to do, we're going to have a professional evaluation and something that is
Correct.
done professionally, not just us looking at an ad hoc committee, searching on Google or whatever we're, comparing cities. We're going to have something in writing from a professional that protects us legally to start changing rates.
If that's the intent to change the rates or look at tiered systems, then yeah, you want to use a professional, somebody
If we're
that
going to
knows
look
what
at
they're-
charging people
that knows
outside of
what they're
city,
doing.
that's changing rates.
But ultimately, it comes back to you.
Okay.
You know, they don't adopt the rates. They come
Right,
back. It goes
but-
to it goes to the Board of Public Utilities. They set rates, not the NPUA. You approve what they
And then
do.
we
but they
approve,
set
we
it.
have to approve it.
At the end of the day, you as a city have the burden to prove that the rates that you're charging don't exceed the cost to provide the service, the reasonable cost to provide the service. And having, as the city manager was saying, having that expert that can testify in court and
Correct.
have a study to back up the rates is beneficial.
Understand. Okay, thank you. I'm going to move that we approve and get that documentation while we study. Well, there are lots of things. There's solars, there's windmills, there's all kinds of things that we can look at to make power, to do things in our town. I don't know the answers to all those things, but I know that we have to have that legal expert to be able to move forward. And my thoughts are that we should get that rolling, because that's not going to be right away either. Get all that information to us so that we can look at it and start making some decisions on where we need to go.
Your
With
Honor.
a system and to protect and to know what it would cost if we ever did that, to protect the citizens from going into something that no one's going to afford.
Your Honor.
Right.
Is Stantec Consulting the cheapest of 41,000?
They were the ones, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Councilman Lonnie, they were the ones that worked with the utility board and the city council last year. And
Is this something we could put out to bid like we do every single else and take in consideration the price? I mean, could we get it done for 30,000? Get it done for 20,000? Well,
Well-
that's my question. We do it with nearly every single other thing we spend money on here.
Right.
So are we just, is this the best pick?
I believe it is, but we did go out to bid when we selected them a year and a half. We looked at 2 or 3 other firms, and they were determined to be the very best for the very best price.
Of all utilities at
Of
that
all
point.
those that
Correct.
responded to the RFP.
Okay, thank you.
We don't have a second yet, a motion, but I just like to say if we're move forward on spending $41,000, if we do, just think of the tiered system. If you lower the rate for anybody, somebody else is gonna have to pay that extra amount. So if you go to 2 or 3 cents for some people, the other companies or businesses in deals or whatever are gonna have to make up that extra amount and get charged more money. And I said it before, I'll say it again, we've had the best selling, because everybody gets charged the same. We pay it, we make our bills, we make our overhead. And if we go to a tiered system, somebody's gonna pay less. That means somebody else is gonna have to pay more. Just remember that.
And Mr. Mayor, I wasn't advocating that you convert to a tiered system.
No, I understand what you
If
were
you're
doing.
gonna go that route, have somebody that's a professional
Right,
assist you with it.
Your Honor, can I say something on the motion?
go ahead.
That is not my intention either, is to lower rates so someone else pays more. It's to be an educational and informational study that we need to show, because people are asking why don't these pay more? Why don't they do more? And the thing is that if we do that, we're all going to pay it. And we have a responsibility to educate our citizens. And if it has to take $40,000 to show everybody, including us, what it would cost us to go to a tier system, what it would do to our city, and why we don't have a 5-tier system. We have a 2-tier system. And this is what it would cost. And if electricity costs more, maybe there are other viable options and we need to explore those. But now we have this in our pocket and knowing this is what this looks like. So this is what we don't want to do. But what do we want to do? But we don't know what we're looking at. We're like grasping in the dark, like this is some monster out there looming over us. And I think we need to know.
Mr. Mayor,
Does that make sense?
one of the other advantages that Stantec does provide is they've developed a computer model of our ratepayers and consumption. And a new company would probably have to rebuild that.
And they're still charging us $41,000. All I gotta do is set up a computer and do the work.
Someone else do.
Question. So are they also going to be looking at alternative energy things,
Well, concurrent,
like as part of that?
Mr. Mayor, concurrently, the utility board is looking at alternative energies, because by the year 2030, we have to be at 50% non-renewable. sources. So they're also at work on that. The same committee
The same
is
committee.
working.
All right, I need a second on this motion. It's gonna die for lack of second.
Oh, Lordy.
We were vote if you second it.
I know. I'm gonna
Vote.
give a second.
Call for the vote.
Three ayes, three noes, one abstention. Councilmember
Oh, I
Campbell.
got the wrong button. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, now it's four noes. Councilmember Evans,
No.
Councilmember Merritt,
No,
Councilmember Williams,
No.
Councilmember Pageant,
No.
Councilmember Belt,
Yes.
Councilmember Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion
It failed.
fails.
Okay.
All right.
All right, we're gonna adjourn the joint council MPA meeting. And reconvene the city council meeting. Roll call's already been taken. Roll calls meeting to order. Public appearance. Persons who are wishing to address the city council on subjects other than those scheduled are requested to do so at this time. When called by the mayor, please announce your name and address for the record. In order to conduct a timely meeting, a 30-minute time limit appropriation has been established by Municipal Code Section 2-18 amendments to the California Government Code Section 54950. Prohibits the city council taking action until on a specific item until it appears on the agenda. Are there any public appearance? Brett?
Thank you, Mayor Williams. My name is Brett Meckes, 4460 Needles Highway, Needles, California. I have the only parcel with a house on it adjacent to the Don Brown Public RV Park. There is no other house within this within 500 feet of this property. I'm here to make it clear to the Needles City Council and the Planning Commission that I am completely opposed to this project and will not allow an easement or a passage across my properties for this project to continue. This project has been there since approximately 2007. It is still not approved. Just this month, I had to put up fencing along my Bluff Road properties to restrict the passage of the people from this RV park. They are speeding, they're doing donuts in my yards and driving over my berms. So a week ago, I started putting up fences finally. A resolution from the Planning Commission was approved for a special use permit for 4418 My Place Road in the name of Don Brown on December 2nd, 2020. Someone had to be sleeping at the wheel. Don Brown passed away 4 months earlier. So he was on the application. I don't know how that can be, and I don't know how it can still exist. In any way, they are given time to continue. Since 2007, apparently in 2008, they did the same thing. They did nothing about it. Should I hold on?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In 2018, they submitted this also for the same permission, and they did nothing. So they revisited it again in December 2020. The same conditions are met or more, and nothing has been done. So I'm dealing with people who are living in this park, transient people, I don't know, but tenants, and the park can never happen. I am not allowing them permission, which needs to be granted for them to cross my land. Why is this continuing? They were given 30 days or 10 days notice approximately a month ago. That time has come and gone. There were 44 violations stated. I have it right here. 44 violations in this park. Nothing has been done, and now they're getting a continuance. Why? For how long? Granted it. Stop the nonsense. I don't get it. This park has been there a long time and it shouldn't be there. And I am the only one to pay this price. I am the only neighbor there. And I just don't get it. Don Brown was a friend of mine. This whole project isn't being done for Don Brown. It's being done for his stepkids who aren't there. It's just amazing. Folks, it's an illegal RV park. Let's get it done with and move them out. I don't know what else to say. I am paying a price. I have to live next to these people. If you had someone with 44 code violations living next to you, maybe you'd feel the same way. So I ask your help in getting this to an end and clearing the RV park. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
Sean?
Thank you, Your Honor, Honorable Counsel. I'm speaking tonight as a concerned private citizen, as always. At last meeting, a council requested an item on behalf of many of the community who feel the economic impact of the recent electric rate increases. To immediately table this item was an injustice to the community who raised the concerns. You silenced their ability, and many are trying to silence mine now, in my opinion, on the matter, and is not good, open, transparent government. The item is only being discussed to determine if the matter should be scheduled for council's consideration at an upcoming agenda. So there was nothing to lose by voting or bringing the item back for further research and consideration. Your decision to create an ad hoc committee to discuss is only kicking the can down the road to appease the community. Been discussed as well. You guys are the NPUA. You represent the ratepayers of Needles. Let's do what's right and let's get something figured out to help these people out. Thank you.
Any other public appearance?
Thank you.
All right. We'll close public appearance, move on to a public hearing. Public hearing notice to consider all evidence and testimony for or against approving an ordinance amending chapter 6, adding article 10 entitled violation penalty in the Needles Municipal Code, and adding penalties for work without permit. Staff report.
Honorable Mayor and City Council members, in front of you, as you remember, we had brought back to you the ordinance regarding the, hold on a second, let me get to the right page. Right. Regarding the work without permits, as you recall, we had individuals that were working in the city without permits. And so I wanted to work closely with the city attorney and his team to identify how we can go after or how we could ensure enforcement of the building code with individuals that are not following the building code. And so we were able to locate and amend the last version that you had and make this version compliant with the code. So as you can see, and there was question about the time period as well. And so we came up with a 12-month time period because that allows due process and also timekeeping. Say we have a 5-year term or something like that, we can't really keep time of that and keep track of that really well. So in order to appease the due process and provide due process to the property owner, a 12-month period was identified. So for the first offense, and what's not included currently in our code, an investigation fee has been identified. So that would be the same cost as the building permit plus the building permit. So it'd be a double fee plus the $50 violation. And so if I'm an individual that's caught one time, I'd have to pay the building permit fee, I'd have to pay the inspection fee, and then I'd have to pay the $50 violation, which is currently in our 2A code. And so if I got caught a second time, again, the double fee plus the $500 violation. And then if I caught a third time, it'd be the double fee plus the $1,000 violation. And then I get caught 4 times within 1 year, it will be turned over to the city attorney for prosecution. So an effort to find a code that is legal in the sense that we're able to achieve compliance from these builders that we have in the community. The one that was presented before isn't able to be done because we actually have to put a fee together for the cost of the actual fee. So we had the double and the triple and whatnot. And so this is a fee that is strict enough is viable enough and is, would achieve compliance in our opinion.
Mr. Mayor, as you recall, what triggered this request for us to develop this ordinance was a garage and an accessory dwelling unit that were built without any permits, no permits whatsoever. And that's what started this discussion. So this ordinance now reflects what can be done, but stays within bounds as defined by state law. Or it's determined by the city attorney.
And it's good old fashioned, Mayor, it's good old fashioned Prop 26 again.
Yeah.
And that is, we can't just generate revenue because it's considered to be a tax. And so what's presented here, which is consistent with what a lot of other cities do, or other cities do that we looked at, is you're charging the permit fee, plus you're charging an additional permit fee for the cost to go out and investigate. And that's a reasonably estimated cost to go out and investigate something that's already built, which is more costly than just issuing the permit. And then you're charging a penalty on top of that. So you can't have, let's say, triple the permit fee as a penalty and then charge a penalty as well. You know, you're double dipping. And that would really be a revenue generating mechanism, which would be a tax, which has to be approved by the voters. So we're limited by the Constitution as much as it legally is permissible under the Constitution.
Any questions from council for staff?
I just have a comment.
Go ahead.
My comment is I think this is really good. And I know that we're really tied by the laws, but I think this is really good. And I think this will at least get the message across because some of these permit fees, you know, are quite hefty. So good job. I think it's pretty good.
Any other questions for staff or for council for staff?
I'd like to make a motion.
I've got to open it to public. Go ahead.
So I have a personal, not conflict, but I'm familiar with this, and sometimes I try to tell my boys this a lot. You gotta look in the mirror. Sometimes it's your fault. So sometimes it's our fault. All right, and I know somebody very. Let me tell you how it is. Years ago, you probably weren't here, Patrick. My mom applied for a permit to get 2.3 acres just cleared off. No structural construction at all. Nothing being put on there. Months go by. No permit. She calls Johnny and says, clear it. I'm done dealing with the city. I'm just done with it. He's clearing it. Somebody shows up and writes her a citation. Okay, she writes a check, says, here you go. Whatever. So a lot of times this is our fault. Now, the one you were talking about, Rick, I get it. You just go and build something without a permit. I get it. But a lot of times it's our fault. A lot of times we got to look at the mirror and say, hey, we got to do a better job, man. Work harder tomorrow, right, Rick?
Can I comment on that one?
Go ahead, Don.
But isn't that I think that's a different scenario than that's not them not applying. That's us failing on our part.
This is only about applying?
If they haven't active, they didn't apply. So if you haven't, if it's due to the city's fault, we would not be fining you, right? If you had an application in.
No.
If you had a current application in, we would work very closely with you to give you your permit before the work started.
But what if you started the work and you have an application in for months and you started the work without the permit?
We would ensure that we have an expedited, streamlined process, and I will put my hand up in the air and swear to you that I do my best to make sure that that happens with my team.
Situation with that.
I hope it doesn't happen from here on out. I mean, not just her. Not just her.
Understood.
All right. We're going to open this up for public comment. To make public comment on this issue. Sean? Yeah.
Again, I don't know if I need to introduce myself every time. This was put in place for certain people that thought the rules were besides them. But I do like the concern that Mr. Evans brought up about what if, time goes by and doesn't city manager, council always have leeway to waive fees and fines, so they will take case by case scenario, not just that,
Yeah.
hey, you've done this 3 times now, come on, get with it, ex-counselor. Come, you know better.
Yeah.
Oh, shut up, sorry. And, What I'm saying is there's people that, you know, get tired and say, just get it done. I'm hoping staff, city manager, you guys would work with them and not just slap them with all that. So every case scenario is different. Just keep that in mind when you approve this. Thank you.
Yeah. And Rick's done a great job at working with people on that kind of an issue, so. Any other public comment on this issue? Seeing. Is it, Judy, do you wish to speak on an issue?
Hands been up the whole day.
No, yeah. All right, well, she's not answering, so we move on. We'll close the public hearing portion of this. Bring it back to the council for discussion, deliberation, and a motion.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, no further discussion. We'll call for a vote.
Six ayes, Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Pageant.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your Honor.
Yeah.
Rick, I'm ready for my inspection on my permit, by the way.
All right.
Finished it this weekend.
Hurry up.
7, public hearing notice to consider all evidence and testimony for or against banning the cultivation of industrial hemp and terminating the urgency ordinance number 641-AC imposing a temporary moratorium on the cultivation of industrial hemp pursuant to Government Code Section 5 or 658 as extended by urgency ordinance 642-AC. Staff report.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This is the follow-up to earlier temporary moratoriums for a short period of time. Hemp will, if it cross-pollinates with cannabis, will turn plants to male and they don't flower.
It actually turns them to hemp.
Yeah, so it's a threat to the cannabis industry. Our recommendation is to approve.
All right, council questions of staff?
Mayor,
Mr. Wade, go ahead.
are they growing hemp Duff River?
They're trying.
Yeah.
Would that affect us at all?
No,
I mean, I know we can't do anything about it.
But
but that guy had serious problems that he had vandalism. He had people thinking it was marijuana. There were huge odor problems. I don't think it's there anymore. But you know, if the fields were closer, there's that potential.
with our wins, Your Honor, with our wins, I mean, anything is possible. Within a mile or two, we'd be in trouble. It only takes it to go into the air duct system. Every one of our grows is air conditioned 24 hours a day. It goes in there, it pollinates everything. And even though cannabis price is actually dropping at the moment, wholesale wise, hemp and cannabis are on 2 different levels. You're talking pennies to thousands of dollars per pound. So as much as I like the idea of the hemp industry, especially hemp plastics, if we could get a company that want to build one way down the highway, I'd be all for it. Hemp plastics biodegradable. You could throw a water bottle down the ground and 2 months it's gone. So something definitely in the future to look at, but right now it is definitely hazardous to what we're doing. That's my opinion.
Any other comments? I'm going to open it up to public hearing. Are there any public comments on this issue? Seeing none, we will close public comment and bring it back to the council for deliberation and a motion.
I make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
We have a motion, second. If there's no further discussion, we'll call for a vote.
6 ayes, Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Pageant.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, the next 2 public hearings have been continued. Number 8 is till January 11th, and number 9 is to November 9th. We'll move on to public comments pertaining to the council items. A 3-minute time limit, time limit per person has been established. The first is our consent calendar. All matters listed on the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. The mayor, any member of the city council may pull an item from the consent calendar for discussion. Prior to council action, a member of the public may address the city council on matters scheduled on the consent calendar. A 3-minute time limit has been established. Recommended action is approve items 10 through 13 on the consent calendar by affirmative roll call vote.
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve 10 through 13 on the consent calendar.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second it.
Call for the vote.
Vice Mayor Pageant. 6 ayes, Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
Merritt.
Yes.
Pageant.
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's the end of the consent calendar. We'll now move on to regular items. Number 14 is discussion regarding traffic engineer study to remove striping, resell, and restripe 2 blocks of Needles Highway from North K to M Street and L Street to K Street.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, upon request of council, the city engineer conducted traffic studies down at K and River Road and Needles Highway, where all that comes together before you turn left to go over the bridge. The city engineer is recommending that we extend the refuge lane, the turn lane back at least a block. That allows longer period for people to get out of the through lane of traffic. Because right now they can't get out of that traffic, therefore they're blocking the through traffic going on to River Road. And then the city engineer conducted some reprogramming of that signal to better time the green light based on direction. Make sure that the oils are operating properly. So we haven't seen many problems down there, but and I'm sure I butchered your Alberta. Come on up if there's anything. Yes, I did.
We have regulated that sign, and since then I have not seen any traffic. To drive more in that
Is
area.
mic on?
Looks like the traffic's flowing a lot better in this case. So the extension of the lanes on both sides is gonna even make the traffic flow even better. So that's our recommendation for this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bring it to the council for staff questions.
I have a couple questions, Your Honor. So to explain to everyone, really, we're going to make the lane that you turn right off the bridge and come onto River Road thinner, widening the lane going towards the river. So we have a bigger, longer turning lane for the left, correct? That's what we're doing. Okay. And a couple no left turn. I love that. Yesterday, a semi broke down in this intersection. So I didn't bother to go take pictures because it was a crap show.
Then another semi pulled up next to it.
I hope this works. I'm all for that congested intersection, and I believe if we stick a fork into BNSF and keep pushing that underpass, and we still haven't painted the weight limits on the road, so we ain't doing what they're asking either. I think that's a major. It'll cut traffic majorly once we open the underpass. I hope this turn lane thing works, and I hope they time the lights better because it's getting worse and worse without our summer traffic. I'm all for this, but once again, I think we should be poking the bear when it comes to BNSF, and you know how hard that is. I know how hard that is. I live across the street from them. But if we increase population, more people start vacationing here, this whole in and out right here is not going to work. if we build an RV park across the street, put another business on that other corner, what are we looking at in 3 years, 5 years? If we want to double our population to 10,000, how's that going to work for crossing the state of Arizona? It's not. There's no way. What are we at right now? A C out of an A through F? We're at a C, right?
Right, the traffic intersection is rated as C out of A through F. There are 14,000 cars a day that go through that.
So, but I'm totally happy with his traffic study.
And
I just think in the long run, that we're gonna have to think bigger right here, and a lot bigger. But not only this, when we go around the corner and then turn onto J Street onto the overpass, I live up against that. It's wearing. You know, traffic is 10 times what it was before the underpass stuff, and we're adding people, we're adding traffic.
Mr. Mayor, this is a first step. If problems continue to arise down there, then we will come back to you with other changes that need to be made. But I forgot to mention it's right turn out, right turn only exiting, for example, what used to be THC. So they're not trying to cut across that turn lane and all that. Now they're gonna have to go around the block, but they'll come out at an intersection rather than the chaos.
It'll be a good problem to have. Ellen?
I learned something in looking at all this is when we extend, sometimes you go to places where you don't make the turn lane and there's only 2 cars in front of you, but what the heck's wrong? And other times it's like there's 11 cars or 15 cars and they all went. I never knew why, but I learned today there are sensors in that turn lane. That whole turn lane, and when it gets extended, has sensors in it. So it will continue to let that large flow of traffic turn left until there's no one on the sensor, and then it triggers the light.
But the lights are also timed, so I mean, it's only gonna run for the time that it's allotted.
But it could also be adjusted.
Yeah.
So it
All
can
right.
be adjusted. So I think it's a really good feasible answer to that.
Any other comments from the council? All right, we'll open it for public comment on this.
Your Honor. Honorable Mayor, Council, my only concern is we're making this adjustment as the underpass is closed. So when the underpass is open, we have a previous study that allow us to dictate the time sensors when people are gonna, most people with normal small vehicles want to go straight through North K. That's how I normally travel when this opens. I just want to make sure we have the mechanism in place to change it back or give more time to the through traffic on North K.
Yeah.
Thank you.
In response to this question, we retain the authority to adjust the timing on the signals. The only thing that really caused this to be a report was that we're putting right turn lane signs out there and we're changing the painting on the asphalt. But we always have the authority to adjust the timing.
Thank you. We need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Call for the vote.
Six ayes, Councilmember Campbell.
Yes.
Evans, Merritt,
Yes.
Pageant,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
15, discussion regarding the traffic engineer study to establish no left turn signs and wrong way signs at the intersection of T Street and Eagles Highway. I have a question before you start. Do we have to do what the city engineer is recommended now since it's in that state?
Can do nothing.
Legally, do we have
No, you
to
can
change?
send it back to study more based on issues that you identify. The problem here we have at the Red Roof Inn and the Chinese restaurant is that's a blind, big sweeping corner. So our recommendation is to right turn only out of that parking lot and no left turn out of the street because you can't see around that corner. It's a So we need to push traffic to control the intersections. Like the intersection behind the red roof in back there. So the recommendation is to add these, and if they're not enough, then we'll come back with other suggestions in the future.
So legally, we don't have to do this. Because that intersection in the street you're talking about, have been that way since 1970 that I know of. We haven't had any wrecks there. There's never been an issue with that. People know they're blind. And that was my only concern. So is there any way you can mute them? Are there any questions for staff or council?
I have one kind on this. Right before that corner, when the new dispensary went in, they took down the 25-mile-an-hour curve sign. Did they ever put it in? Ever put it back there? Thank you, sir. That's the only question I
So
have.
if I can weigh in, Mr. Mayor, on your question, whatever you do, you want it to be supported by your engineer, because then that gives the city design immunity. If you just do something without the engineer supporting it, then you can lose that immunity.
And that's what I was wondering, because if we never asked, then we wouldn't be looking at this at all. And he's come up with a recommendation. Do we have to follow his recommendation?
Well, he may, I mean, if you give some feedback to the city manager and he discusses it with him, he may come back and say, well, you can leave it the way it is, but if, or you can, you know.
If you want to refer it back, then we can.
Ellen?
Wade was first.
Okay, Wade.
Another question too, $1,500, does that have to come to council? Isn't there a certain amount that doesn't have to come to council?
Yeah, that doesn't, I don't need action on that.
It's,
But we were
I
just
think because
pointing out that that's what we expect to pay, and we're just trying to inform you. But council doesn't approve that.
I just
Go ahead,
want to state that at that intersection, I mean, I know that here that grew up here and went to school here, but I have been here 37 years. And I do eat at that restaurant all the time. My daughter was a waitress in that restaurant. And just when I had that little electrical fiasco in my house, a month and a half ago, John and I pulled out of there and someone was coming down like from Dairy Queen that was towards the bridge. And I am in the dark. You can't tell how fast people are driving. And I had no idea. And this is not the first time that I pulled out of there and almost been killed. This would have been John. And I pulled out in my Highlander and had to do a Dukes of Hazzard move because that car was freighting so fast. I had to yank my car out of the way to not be hit and be T-boned. And I'm going to tell you, honest to God, that's probably the 15th time I came really close to being T-boned at night. Now, granted, I don't see go so great at night, but I cannot tell how fast a car is coming. And I'm not and seriously, we've had lots of complaints about that intersection. God, can you do something about that? Or is there anything you can do about, that curve? And I said, I don't know, maybe we could lower the speed limit or something, but I didn't know the sign was missing. But 15 would even be fine with me. I just don't want to see anyone get hurt there. And as we have more traffic and as we have a business on that corner right there and
Have
people,
another one too.
and another one. So we're going to have a little bit more traffic going in and out of there. And it might behoove us to do something a little bit on the side, on the air of caution, to do something right now to make sure that, we don't have someone killed when we know there's a problem. Because there is a problem, and I know that other people here have been eaten at that restaurant and pulled out of that driveway to turn left and almost been hit. I know I'm not the only one. So, and that just happened. And I did not do this. I did not ask for this. I didn't want you to know that. But I'm glad it's on there. I just wanted to add that.
We're talking about 2 signs, correct? There's 2 parking lots on? Okay, that's all.
And the 25-mile-an-hour sign.
That was already there.
Is there any more comments or questions for staff?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
You good? Public comment?
probably get tired of seeing me.
No,
But
we
I
like it.
completely agree. Leaving there is a little bit, it's like rolling the dice to try to make a left out of there. I can agree with the right. But my only issue is you're gonna take them all the way back around behind the Red Roof Inn. You guys drove that road? Wow. I hope you have not a low center car. That road is horrific. So if you're gonna do something, I would not implement this until we do something with those two streets. If you're gonna put additional traffic on those streets, I think it's Race and T where it comes back around. Wow. You're gonna be getting things for tire punctures and potholes missing and I mean,
freeway on
that
like a normal person.
yeah, but we're telling right turn only. So if you're a Needle citizen, you're gonna go back around the corner and that's how you're gonna do it. So I'm just that's my only saying. If you're gonna force them onto a street that's not really passable, think about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Any other public comment? All right, we'll close it and bring it up to the council for a motion and action. Deliberation and a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve, to implement. Okay, call for the vote.
6 ayes. Excuse me, Councilmember Campbell,
Yes.
Evans, Merritt.
Yes.
Pageant,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 16, discussion regarding amending chapter 15A recreation area use policy regarding prohibiting consumption of glass bottles and littering at city beaches.
Okay, yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we made an error in understanding what was requested. The council requested a policy regarding prohibiting glass bottles on the beach, glass containers. Because when we cleaned up the beach this spring, there was surprisingly a large amount of broken glass down there, which we hadn't seen before. So then the council also wanted, they wanted to prohibit, plus you asked us to make sure that we had signs, no glass bottles and no littering, with a warning about the fines. It is already illegal to consume cannabis on the beach.
In
So-
public.
Huh?
In public.
In public, right. So really the only two places are in your home or in a licensed lounge.
Your Honor.
Hold on, let him finish.
Okay. So we're gonna suggest taking the cannabis consumption out because it's already prohibited. It's redundant.
And almost impossibly enforceable. Your Honor, can I speak?
Hold on, let him finish. Are you done with your? Thank you. Zach, go ahead.
You're correct on that under Prop 64, but also Prop 64 was written to let me make sure this verbiage is correct. To unabridge, to not abridge anything from Prop 215. I'm a Prop 215 patient. I'm a medical patient. Under state law, I'm allowed to smoke anywhere anyone lights up a cigarette and is allowed to smoke there. We battled prior on the beaches. And we decided the beaches weren't our property, they were the state's property. So that was my only question on prohibiting this. To be honest, the phone calls to Ross's office would be ridiculous. It's $100 fine. Littering's $500 in the state, but smoking cannabis in public's $100 fine. $100 fine, $100 fine, $100 fine. They really don't want to do the paperwork. Are we going to pay $100,000 in overtime for code enforcement between March and October? You go sit on those beaches all day, Adrian, and then you're going to have the arguments of cigarettes, alcohol. These are all similar. So I'm glad we'll just leave it at it's already illegal.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, for all those reasons, that's why we want to take the cannabis out.
All right.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I'd like to make a motion.
Thank you.
I'd like to move the matter eliminating the consumption of cannabis.
I'll second.
We have a fun things that go up don't litter, you don't pee in your, swim in your pool, or I don't know.
Did you say don't litter on pee in your pool?
You know, the swim signs that you put up so people really see them, not just don't litter.
All right, we have a motion, and a second. We'll call for the vote.
Okay, maybe that's not the right word.
6 ayes, Councilmember Campbell, Evans,
Yes.
Barrett, Pageant,
Yes.
Belt.
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, 17 is review of the economic development program funded by 10% of tax revenues received from cannabis businesses.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In April 2021, or no,
Yeah, I can't turn it off.
in March 2019, the council created the Economic Development Fund. And we have a couple years of experience. We're asking the council for guidance on about 6 questions. One is that when a grant is given, we're recommending that you add a expiration date. That if we give you a grant for $10,000 to help you open a coffee shop, that's not a forever. Let's say the grant's for 6 months. But we think we ought to consider a time limit for that grant. So it's use or lose. The other is, we're asking for you to consider allowing us to ask for a description of the 2 sustainable jobs that are being created. For example, we recently had one where 2 of the jobs being created were for electronic billboard sales people in Bullhead. That's not why we did this. We did this to create jobs in these. So we just we'd ask for a better description. We're suggesting that perhaps to kill 2 birds with 1 stone, and that is housing shortage, that we, because development of a house does not create 2 sustainable jobs. It does for a short period of time. So what we would like to do is to open the greater use for home building, which perhaps people could apply for half their building permit fee, if they get it with a permit. But to use it to assist individuals or home builders to build houses, because that's going to help our economy. The third or the fourth, I guess, is let's say you all grant a $100,000 for a $12.9 million hotel. And that's on a reimbursement basis. So when they incur the cost, then they get reimbursed. But somebody comes in and buys that hotel project. We believe that the fund should stay with the project. So when because it's the project that is creating the jobs, not the owner. So that's one. And let me just cover the last 2. And the other is that when people apply for a grant, they should have an approved project. They should get their conditional use permit or their zoning permit before they come in and ask for a grant or a sign or something like that. And the last is that these monies should be the kind of the last money spent. So it's not spending money on speculative, like engineering studies. Finishing touch. Because the project might never come about if you use the money that early. So our suggestion is council direction on those issues. And if you agree, then we would bring these back to you in an amendment to that policy. But we're just looking for guidance on those issues.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Okay, my first question is,
On the first one, setting an expiration date for the Economic Development Fund, I absolutely think that's a marvelous idea. But is this negotiable? If there was good reason,
Oh, of course.
then we would renegotiate, like we give you 6 months to start your project. But something terrible, catastrophic happens and the person can't, we would renegotiate.
Mr. Mayor, we'd put it back on the council
Okay.
agenda and have it.
Okay, I just wouldn't want to, hold someone's feet to the fire.
Exactly.
My second question is, because this is ambiguous, if we approve this, we're approving make funds non-transferable to new owner.
Yeah, that's.
So I want to
So
make
it's
sure
spread.
that that says make transferable to the new owner, because we don't want to give the former owner
Right.
the stipend
Right.
and leave the new owner who's finishing the project with, without that
That's
incentive.
poor sense, right?
Well, it's okay. I just want to, it's the nature of the beast in my life. I have to be clear. So those are my two questions that I had.
Thank you. One of the things I'd like the council to consider is perhaps putting another item on here that if the existing businesses would like to get some of this grant money, help them update their facade, like Williams done and like Sligman's done, make a Route 66 motif or whatever, like just big O if they wanted to redo their outside, if they would use some of this money to help them. And that I'd like to see that in this also.
Okay, we can add that.
No, if the council agrees, I'd like to see it added in there. Wait, hold on, one second.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. Is
I
that-
like your motif idea, definitely, especially for the downtown area.
Yeah.
Are we gonna pick a motif? Is that the right word?
Yeah, facade.
Theme.
Yeah.
The theme, there you
Yeah.
go.
Route 66?
Of course, but I mean, are you talking, get your kicks on Route 66, like convertible, the 60s style? We doing 80s? We doing 50s? What would we do? I love that. I love that. Love that.
I like the Palo Verde Community College when they took all the aluminum siding off the Claypool's building. You never would have thought that was bad. That's a beautiful building, but
Historic district.
Yeah.
Mayor,
wait, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead, Rick. We are going into the visioning stage of the general plan, the first workshops in November. In that process, you all can establish a theme for that. Like, I mean, there's Sisters Oregon, it's all Old West.
Yeah.
So there's actually posts outside where you tie your horse. But then they're wooden sidewalks. So during that planning exercise beginning November, we could set that theme. But yeah, it's a great idea to have facades in the ordinance.
All that, I think all that would just come from the general fund, what Zach and Rick were talking about, this economic development fund. Everything you said, I think it's awesome. What Jeff said, going to the housing thing with the impact fees, and I think you mentioned.
Building fees.
Yeah, maybe put a stipulation in there, they have to be there for 3 to 5 years or something. And then you mentioned what Helen said, the transferable funds to the buyer. I'd like to put something there as long as the project continues current construction. That way they can just buy it and then, all right, peace out.
Stop. Yep.
Yeah. I like it all. I mean, so now my next question is do we act on this or do we let it get revised?
We're directing staff to revise.
Right, so, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Evans, what we will do is take your comments and write it up as an amendment to the policy. So then it would be part of the revised policy document. So we will incorporate the suggestions. And
Kristen.
then it'll come back to you for adoption.
Okay.
What Councilmember Evans just said, he said something about requiring people to live there for 3 to 5 years. We're not giving this people just building a home. We would be giving it to home developers, I'm assuming.
That's your call. You could make it available to individual homeowners that are building a new house.
Oh, I guess I would, I mean, I understand like that's good. But there's a lot of people who have houses here already, you know, and they're not, I mean, it opens up a whole can of worms if we're just letting people move here, build a house and giving them like 50 grand.
Yep.
I think, I know it's a certain amount, but still it's a little, I think that's a little much for me. So
I think it needs to be a developer like
I
we
think
was
it needs to
talking
be
about.
developer. It can't just be people. I mean, it'd be nice, but I don't know about that. But I think a developer, that's a whole different story.
We'll write it both ways.
Okay.
Wade?
I gotta respectfully disagree. I think to bring rooftops in, you can do it with anybody that wants to build a house here. I've been for years, when ex-councilmember Goodmanson, I was asking him, how can we get people here? I didn't know the answer. I wanted to know the answer, but I didn't know the answer. Whether it's one house, 10 houses, 40 houses, I think we help everybody. We welcome them with open arms, and this would be the open arms. I truly, and like you said, Rick, you'll write it up both ways. There you go.
And how much
Is there any other comments from the council? Go ahead, Tony.
are all of these have term limits on them, on the sense of, you said for how long they can collect, but on when the project has to be completed. So no money will be delivered until a project is completed, correct?
Right. For example.
But that will be in all cases.
We did one for a hotel. And part of the grant was to reimburse for building permit expenses. So part of the building permit was the permit for the foundation, the slab. And when they completed that, they paid for the permit. And when they completed it, we reimbursed them for that part of the building permit. And then, but they had to start the rest of the building.
I think I personally feel we need to revise that, because the slab isn't the completed project.
Right. Well, but most things, we're requiring that they be done.
Correct. We just have had so many
False starts.
false starts in my little
Well,
time.
Mr. Mayor, there's a half-finished hotel up at the south end of Loft. Monument.
Of why it should be done
Yeah.
before we giving any money out.
Well, yeah, excuse me. So it seems to me, my recollection was that the council didn't want to front end
Any of it though,
any of
at
it,
all.
but it was reimbursed after the fact that it's done and there'll be jobs created.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying though. Even if it's for the cement, we'll give you that part for the cement after the entire project's completed.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the cement, if that's all they put up,
Yeah.
that didn't finish, that didn't fall within the category rules.
Right. I made a note of it.
Okay, Kristen?
I guess I always thought the Economic Development Fund was to help all of the citizens in a sense by bringing new businesses and stuff. And I think that we need to make sure we define exactly what this is. It's not just like, come here and we'll do this, we'll give you money and all this stuff. I think we really need to make sure we know. I don't know, because I feel like economic development is developing, the businesses. That's just
All right, we're gonna open up for a public comment on this. So I just should put Sean's comment.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah. I think this is a great idea for all of things around. All councilors have a great input and opinion on it. I have to say I also disagree with Councilor Merritt, because economic development is about bringing new industry, businesses, population, and retaining population. We are not in a struggle to get people here from Southern Cal right now. We are in a struggle to keep people here from going across the river. So people take advantage of the market right now in Needles, and they can sell their house for $3,000 and they're all jumping across the river. Hey, we're going to keep this rooftop in our hometown and give them, in 5 years, their building fees back if they still reside in Needles. Why would you not do that to them, a private party, as to a developer, as in right now we're giving for rooftops, or I think Councilor Longer says putting lipstick on a pig with our beautification project. We're doing that to beautify homes. It's all about rooftops. Rooftops create the new businesses and the economic development that we need. But Councilor Bell is 100% right. We got to be careful with this. We say the very end, tail end of the project, We'll pay you all at once when the project is complete and you get your certificate of occupancy, no matter what it is. If it's a house, if it's a business, whatever. COO is the biggest important thing. So, but I think, Ms. Merritt, you really need to think about, yes, we are in a struggle right now. We do not have one of the cheapest power rates in this tri-city anymore. They're all going across the river. We're fighting to keep what we have here. I know people have 4 signs on their house right now going across the river. What if we could say, hey, you stay in Needles in 5 years, you get your $23,000 back for economic or your development and permit fees. They will stay here. Give them a reason. Give all 7 of you live here part-time. Give them a reason to come and stay and retain Needles citizens.
Okay, any other public comment?
Mr. Mayor,
We'll close public comment. Go ahead.
for clarification, a 2,000 square foot home, the building permit's about $8,000.
Okay,
I guess
Kristen?
okay, so let me clarify, maybe I'm confused. So we are doing this so we're doing this to keep people in Needles, but we want them to move out of their current homes and build a home. We're giving them the discounts for that. Otherwise, are we giving this to the people who already own homes in Needles? Like, would I get it? And when I wouldn't. So I guess that's where I'm confused. I totally understand how this helps bring rooftops and stuff. I guess I'm confused as to how this prevents people from leaving Needles. I just need education.
Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead.
by someone who lives here, building a new home and moving into it, whether it's scaling up or scaling down, that still leaves the existing housing
Yeah,
stock.
that's true.
And in my opinion, the lack of housing could be the biggest impediment for growth of our economy. But we'll write it up a variety of different ways that we'll get some hard language in front of you and you can then take it.
We need money however everybody wants to use it.
Can I ask a question?
Alan?
How many new jobs are about to be created approximately with the new cannabis?
Those under construction today, another 500 jobs will be created in the next by February. And then those that are in permitting, and I'm talking about cultivation, there's probably another 500 jobs.
We're looking at 1,000 jobs by people who probably don't live here. Because a lot of people can't pass the life scan. They have to pass life scan to work there. People don't, people have to live across the river because they can't live in Needles. There is nowhere to live. There's nowhere to live. There's nothing to rent. There's nothing to buy. And so all these 5,000 or 1,000 jobs that we are now about to create with our booming economy is we're not going to be able to have people live here. So it's so important to get rooftops. However, we have to do it. It's not to Warren Buffett, maybe. Open the underpass and build it. Just kidding.
Thank you.
Any action on this? You got your direction? Go ahead, Dan.
Under the application talks about the program boundaries. And it states that commercial businesses located throughout the city of Needles are the eligible things. And I don't see where that building a house, where that fits.
Well, in the last version, or the last approval, there was a provision for housing that was added. So it does allow it for housing, but technically they can't meet the test because they're not sustainable jobs. It's not like your coffee shop is gonna have. And all I'm saying is you can make it that, you can make it for housing if you choose.
Yeah. Do you need action or you got what you need to come back?
Move there. Do you have the direction?
Oh,
Build a home
He's
for wayward children.
Just continue.
Rewrite it.
Continue.
We'll get you some language.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to continue this item.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to say and call for the vote.
Six ayes, Councilmember Campbell,
Yes.
Evans, Merritt,
Yes.
Pageant,
Yes.
Belt,
Yes.
Longacre.
Yes.
Thank you.
At 18 is discussion on attending the California Construction Industrial Materials Association Conference.
One of the, Mr. Mayor, one of the goals in my performance review that you pointed out was the need to initiate a recruitment program for manufacturing. This is the first one of those manufacturing type organizations. I don't know much about this organization or the size of this. We really don't have all the collateral material that we would want to attract manufacturing, but this will be a good experience for us to learn. If anybody wants to attend this, let the city clerk know, and we'll make reservations for it. The cost of the booth is $150. The cost to attend is $110. So it's very affordable and will give us a good way to break our teeth on the recruitment of manufacturing.
Excuse me, there is also the cost for a hotel. I'm assuming that the council member may want to spend a night or two.
Yeah.
And mileage.
Right.
Yep.
And the deadline is the 15th.
Of October.
Correct.
Okay.
So I need to know
So
tomorrow.
Wants to, but Patrick will be attending and perhaps me as well.
Nice. I wanted to attend, Your Honor. I'm having surgery on the 20th, so I don't know where I'm gonna be for the next 2 weeks after that.
Okay, so you can't go. Does anybody else want to represent the city and go to this and get our name out there for housing and that kind of thing?
Yeah. Halloween week.
It doesn't affect me any.
Halloween, Christmas.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids.
It's right in the middle
Those
of
are
the week.
important things.
26th.
Okay, well, we'll do it.
They'll do a good job.
And we'll report back.
Rep.
26th, 27th.
That's all we have. You said you can know by tomorrow, right?
Yes.
Excellent.
Wait, don't forget about my servers.
Shoot.
Right, server farms, right.
Server farms.
Mm-hmm.
Those.
Yeah.
I think that's Sea Dog.
What?
Air Quality Management District. We have a meeting called Sea Dog. I'll have to let you know more. I'll find out what that is. All right. That it? Let's see. We'll go on to the city attorney's report.
Yes, a few things. First, tonight, the council, as part of its consent calendar, approved the resolution adopting the procedures for future meetings under AB 361, which was recently signed into law, and that essentially allows you to continue with remote meetings. So if somebody needs to be attending from another location, or they have a health issue and they can't be here, if they have a cold, they don't want to be in the council chambers, they can still attend remotely. And they won't have to post the agenda on their home or hotel room or whatever it may be, the way we used to have to under the Brown Act. It also assures people that are attending remotely, either by phone or by internet, it gives them the opportunity to do that without coming down here if they don't feel comfortable coming down here for whatever reason, and it allows them to participate and make public comments. A couple things that I wanted to point out to the council are that historically we close public comment. We under AB 361 we have to keep public comment open. That doesn't mean that somebody gets to repeatedly make comments. They get their 3 minutes, but we have to keep public comment open through the duration of the item, as opposed to the way we've historically done it, which is open it, close it, and then, bring it back to council. If they want to comment before a vote and public comment's already closed, they have the right to do that under AB 361.
Is that just for municipalities?
Any public agency that adopts it.
Any public.
That adopts 361. And we also included the word legislative body in the resolution, so it'll apply to the council, the Board of Public Utilities, the Planning Commission, any Brown Act body of the city can now conduct their meetings according to AB 361. And then lastly, I wanted to point out the resolution has to be approved, has to be renewed every 30 days. So it'll probably be part of your consent calendar going forward. In terms of activities by the city attorney's office, on behalf of the city and the NPUA, we've been representing both the city and NPUA in the Rio Buena Vista litigation. And I wanted to publicly announce that the city prevailed at the trial court level on all counts. So you won that case. We did reach out, even though the city prevailed in the case that was filed by the homeowners. We did reach out to opposing counsel to explore possible settlement and waiver, of maybe some of our expenses. We never received a return phone call. So we are now going to be aggressively pursuing the plaintiffs for all the attorney fees and costs that were incurred on your behalf in prevailing in that case.
Good.
So it's unfortunate that we didn't get a return call. And then in addition to that, we reported on some of the cases in closed session tonight, and we reported out that we had some settlements on some of the code enforcement and the receivership actions that are part of the city council's effort to clean up the city of Needles. We're making progress on those cases. We have, I think right now, close to 30 cases that we're pursuing where there are properties that are not in compliance with the code, and the city is attempting to get those properties cleaned up and get the code violations addressed. So we're working on those cases on behalf of the city. We've also and regularly advise the city in connection with CEQA related issues, often as they arise on CUP applications, primarily related to the cannabis industry, but on other issues as well. We've been and continue to assist the city in reviewing live scan applications to determine whether applicants are eligible to work in the marijuana and cannabis industry in the city of Needles, advising the city on labor and employment questions, also advising the city on conflict of interest questions as they arise. They tend to arise more in a small city than they do in a larger city. And so, we tend to be very conservative on those. Let's see, some of the other items are reviewing and revising contracts and preparing contracts for the city. We finalized the lease agreement on the golf cart lease. We negotiated warranty language for the AMI water meters that you entered into an agreement on. And that was the Landis and Gear contract for the water meters. We worked on contract for the city of Needles for the bridge replacement project. We also worked on agreements with Touchstone. We worked on an amendment to the contract with Wildan. We worked on a draft assistant city manager contract that was before you this evening in closed session that will come back to you in an open session. We also I researched the California statutory definitions of the term youth centers per a request that was made at the last council meeting. And that definition, I'll just share that with you right now. The first definition is in the California Penal Code, section 626.95C2, which defines a youth center as, quote, any public or private facility that is used to host recreational or social activities for minors while minors are present. The second definition can be found in Health and Safety Code, section 11353.1E2. And according to that section, youth center is defined as, quote, any public or private facility that is primarily used to host recreational or social activities for minors, including but not limited to private youth membership organizations or clubs, social service teenage club facilities, video arcades, or similar amusement park facilities. And the definition that I just went over in the Health and Safety Code is also referenced in the California Welfare and Institutions Code, as well as the California Business and Professions Code. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. City Manager's report.
Mr. Mayor, I'll run through this quickly. We have been informed to expect an announcement shortly for our $5.6 million grant for the reservoir and a lot of replacement of deteriorated pipes. It is a very good chance that we will be undertaking $9 million of water improvements to the cities or the MPUA's water system. The best news is these are much needed improvements that the local ratepayers don't have to pay for. But these are being funded by our grantsmanship efforts. But $9 million is no small amount of money. We're working with the company that's proposing a homeless daycare center down in next to Santa Fe Park by the museum. We've advised them they're finalizing their application. That'll go to hearing before the Planning Commission. We have had vandalism at the park, Duke Watkins Park restrooms, but we also have a Boy Scout working on his Eagle Scout badge, going to repaint those bathrooms inside. So I couldn't be happier with that. We held a Household Hazardous Waste Day on October 2nd. We pulled in 2.5 tons or 5,120 pounds of oil-based paint, latex paint, antifreeze, motor oil, used oil filters. We had 2,800 pounds of TV screens, computers, and other various items. So that stuff that is hazardous shouldn't be going into a landfill, and it'll all be dealt with in the proper way. So congratulations to the good and decent people of Needles. Our vet notified us that she's no longer going to provide her service here. We went out for RFP, couldn't get anybody to respond. We started calling around, and then we posted it on a web page for veterinarians. And we have a vet from Hesperia that will be coming out November 20 to do a rabies clinic. That's good news. Getting ready for the paving projects, which we hope to be in the $4 to $6 million range this year. We sent out a flyer encouraging anybody who wants to, for example, some pharmacy that wants to have their parking lot paved, that we can put it in our bids, get a quote, and then present it to them, and they can either sign on and have it done or reject it and not do it. Or it's somebody who has a long driveway that wants it paved, because it would be at least half the price when you buy in bulk like that. The Arrowhead Credit Union is sponsoring a Feed America on October 23rd, where they have food boxes that will be handed out to folks in need. We held a job walk last week on the well site. We expect 3 bids to come in on that. I drafted a letter for the mayor objecting to Needles being excluded from a $100 million grant program for communities with cannabis where the businesses have provisional licenses as opposed to permanent licenses. We have, I think, eight provisional licenses. We don't want those people's business disrupted. But they handed out $100 million to others and excluded needles. We've let them know that we find that objection.
No.
But we've contacted our legislators. We need a new pole agreements, and what I mean by that is on power poles, utilities, other non-NPUA utilities, put their lines up there. It's fair that they share in the cost of those pole replacements or maintenance. Ours are decades old. Also, the governor vetoed a piece of legislature approved, which would have not allowed municipalities to charge for other folks to use our power poles. The governor also vetoed a piece of legislation that was passed, which would have allowed billboards for cannabis businesses. Those are, again, banned, and it is on and state highways that kids are inevitably going to be in cars, and it was seen as that. We had the 1010 Republic of China event last weekend. Councilor Bell and the mayor and I had the opportunity to meet with Chris Porter, who is the field rep for Supervisor Paul Cook today. And he wanted to know, he made a mistake. He wanted to know what he could do for us. And we all gave him a list of road projects that they can help fund. For example, the county's getting $200 million of COVID money. Colonel Cook has suggested that each supervisor will get a portion of that, and that he wants to use it to assist his cities in public improvements. Never want to miss a beat. I asked for more money for water projects and continuing to pound away at the leaks that we have. So, Mr. Mayor, Council, that's all I have. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay. Let's make sure you get your votes in for breast cancer pink day here. We'll start with council requests. As you hand in your votes, if it's the right vote, you'll get a councilor request. Yeah, okay.
Who has the
Check that out.
Councilmember Longacre, we'll start your end.
That's a hard one.
My hand this time.
Yeah. As long as you got your vote in. You have your vote in?
My hand good right now.
Here's my vote.
Thank you. Chris wants to make sure she gets her council request.
I do.
Vice Mayor hand in his end.
Okay, Your Honor, I only have a couple things. The Lagoon project, we're down an ad hoc person without Councilor Terrell here anymore. We haven't heard a meeting or anything since our last meeting. So I'd like to schedule another meeting with the tribe and also bring in a rep from Senator Grove's office to sit into this next meeting. On to the next one. I'd like to direct staff into looking at a grant and how to form a Route 66 historic district like Kingman, Arizona has. Their Beale Street has been redone. It's a historic Route 66 / BNSF, which it's unbelievable. The storefronts are coming back in. Businesses are moving back into this area. Let's look into this. You know, we're looking at facades for historical buildings in this area. So this goes hand in hand, in my opinion. So I'd really like to see them look into that and possibly, what do we like? The Wagon to L, Broadway to Front, you know, historic district. How long has those two roads been running in this town? And last, the ladies are doing a trunk or treat still. This trunk or treat is the one at Santa Fe Park. All businesses are invited. Contact me or Kristen Rockwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Belt.
Yeah, I have a couple things. So I wanted to just throw a few numbers out there just because of that $9 million. We're talking about trying to save the ratepayers money. So just in my basic math that I'm your average human. So $9 million, 30-year bonds. If we would have, if this money, that $9 million that the staff was able to recover for us, if we were to have to go out, what the ratepayers would have to pay. So $9 million for a 30-year bond at interest rates from municipalities right now are 1.76. I looked for today. That would be up to $15 million over the 30 years. Divided by 2,000 ratepayers, that's about 8,000 a ratepayer over 30 years. So about $264 a year savings at $22 a month. So staff is actively working to save money for, that's money that's already you're saving just with that 9 million. So the rest of it continues to add up with staffs actively seeking after grants for these fundings for extra projects. So I'm just there. I mean, this money is huge because that just hit 9 million out of our capital project list of 40 million. That's, I mean, that's still a 0.25%. So just, I want to thank them on top of everything else because that's huge. Again, about 8,000 per ratepayer over the 30 years. So that's one number. And then also, can we get the chambers every month to come in still to remind them that's part of their contract to come give us an update? So they'll be here at next meeting. And pink for breast cancer awareness, reminding everybody to get your mammograms. Just a reminder month for all women and or men if needed. Second, if you look at TOTs for Airbnbs, I know that's probably a sore subject, but the amount that are coming in, we definitely need to look into that one. On it. Christmas party, did we get an actual date? Are we doing it that 10th? Because it wasn't brought back up on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, everybody, that would seem to be a date.
So we're putting that down as our calendars actually officially, correct?
December 10th.
Yes, sir.
That Friday, December 10th?
At the Algarces.
Correct, yes. And number 2 on the item, just so everybody aware, that's free shade trees. So I just thought we should probably mention that so people can actually go and apply again.
It's an awesome program.
For the free trade, whenever you'll let everybody know. Will that go in their electric bills?
Yeah, we'll put a flyer in there. Last year, they were gone within 2 weeks.
Yeah, that's gonna say they went fast.
What we've done is said that if you got 2 last year, let others have a shot.
And also bringing up Mr. I'm sorry, I forget your name there, sir. Mr. Mekas. I've heard from a couple people just in the last month about the time consuming on staff. So I'm just calling us back out for our own transparency to make sure. One lady said she's called 4 times for a leak on Cortez. It's in the ground, she said, and it's been fixed multiple times, but the same issue that we had on our street with driving over the dirt, it's not been repaired. So it's continues to have a problem with the not being filled in with cement or concrete or asphalt, whatever the term is. Also, the smell of weed. Can we get either more fines or increasing the filters when they come before us for a CUP? But it's weed everywhere. I mean, every time, I mean, any place you drive by these, it's the same, and it's most, I mean, in my mind, some of the same offenders every time. Can we get the same kind of violations that we're doing for these violations for the work without permits? I mean, if you get 4 in a year, I mean, come on, we're like, increase your filter. I don't know. There's got to be some way they can stop.
Okay.
So we can try to these repeat offenders to get this under control. Also the rec center acoustics, we got to put some money into that. We got to fix that. I've gone there a few times and it's atrocious in there. The sound is just, we've got to get some more acoustics on those walls to fix that sounding in there. If you've been in there for a basketball game, watching your kid, it's horrible. The sound is so bad. And I want to thank the community and the school for the pep rally and the staff. We had our extra fire truck there. Patrick and Pin Man were running it. Jesse was there. Everybody lining the streets. I mean, thank you guys. It was a great pep rally and a great Mustang drive. And all of our staff was there helping out with our water truck. Excellent. Thank you guys. And that's it for the day. Thanks, guys.
All right. Vice Mayor Paget.
Yeah, I had SBCTA in-person meeting in San Bernardino last Wednesday, so we had to make the trip in. But that was blessed with Patrick also driving in a little later and both of us attending the State of the County meeting that evening before we drove home. I think I'd like to give a shout out to the Needles Mustangs. They're 4-0, and if you haven't gone and seen them this Wednesday, they're going to be playing again at 7 o'clock. So go out and give the boys a hand. Thank you.
This Wednesday?
I'm sorry, Friday, not Wednesday.
Oh,
Wow, we could.
okay.
Wait a minute.
Councilmember Merritt?
Everybody said so many good things that I was thinking of saying. So I guess the only thing I have to say is want to send our condolences to the city of Bullhead City Council because they lost their vice mayor, Kathy Bruck, last Tuesday. She passed away. Just all of our condolences to their city council.
It. Councilmember Evans?
Yeah, I'm gonna be quick and unfortunately it's quick. So in the September 28th meeting, I didn't get to, wasn't in my right mind to respond to the letters from the 2 utility board members. Seeing I was pretty upset, but I will respond. So from Commissioner Campbell, it says here that we represent the voters who approved this debt to bail out the city of Needles from default. I know who I represent. I represent all the voters in Needles, all the citizens of Needles. I know who I represent. You guys know who you represent. For us to take away the voice of the community was wrong. For us to table that issue was wrong. It was just to bring it back. It was 100% wrong. We failed. We failed at that, man. And for him to say we have a stabilization fund, we can call a fund whatever we want. We can, and we don't have to take away from the economic development fund. I put something out there for ideas to bring it back. Remember Schneider said we can end the $600,000 payment. Well, that was still coming out of the general fund, which still comes from cannabis money. Okay, let's do that. We can take that fund to start, but what we did was a failure. And I don't know what happened, but it was apparent to me, I can't prove it, that when Commissioner Campbell stood up and walked out after the issue was tabled, it was apparent that he got his way. And just want to let you guys know that we need to do better than that. We have an opportunity right now to help the ratepayers of Needles, to help the citizens of Needles, like we were put here to do. So let's do it. What are we waiting for? That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Campbell?
Hi. Okay, my first item on my agenda was to ad hoc committee. So you've covered that, so that's off there. I would like to, I don't know if I have to meet with Rick or who I talked to start looking into what the cost of a bathroom will be on Tana's grassy knoll that she doesn't have yet. So just a brick building, cinder blocks. We can go swipe them all over town. No, just joking. Anyway, Rick, can you tell me what is happening with I forgot to ask you the other day, but someone asked me, the shopping center and the affordable housing project down on Broadway?
Yeah, they,
Where are we at with
on
that?
the city block that we sold, they have met their first milestone. They are reviewing our comments and resubmitting an application at the next deadline in November.
Thank you. I know we have some community meetings coming up and we have a general plan coming up, but I want to have it put on the agenda. Whatever the steps we have to take as a city council, which will require rezoning, but designating the downtown, what is our downtown area, even if without the general plan being finished, to thwart, to comments that council have made about what we want our downtown area to look like, what we do or don't want down in our downtown area. We voted on some things last week that several of us felt were right because there is no downtown area and we need to have one. We need to designate that. So in order to designate, I got some advice in order to be able to designate the downtown would be from L to the wagon, L to the wagon. And as far as down by the old dealership, it's a moot point for any cannabis down there because the college is down there. So we have the college. So nothing's going to happen near the college. It can't, it's illegal. So, but we still want to designate what our downtown area is. So I would like to find out how we do that, how we move forward on that. I don't know how long a general plan takes. We're going to have town meetings. We can ask for input from the citizens, however we do it. But I don't know how long it takes to rezone something, whether it's just the general plan. Maybe that's a faster way, but those are just my thoughts on what is the fastest way to do that so that we're not going to vote on anything like that again, because we're going to have downtown. That eliminates that. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, I have just a couple of things. Dale, can we get coffee in here? It's starting to get cool outside for the next meeting. We have coffee again. I'd really like to have Dan or somebody look at fixing our Teams meeting, the interruptions that occurred. That's been going on and on. I don't know how we can fix that. We need that done. Does anybody on the council want to volunteer to go to the Needles Bay Ad Hoc Committee? We need an additional member since Tim has left. Does anybody want to take that on?
The Needles what?
For the Needles Lagoon? Over by where the old bowling alley was back in there. Let us know if you want to, and we'll put you on that committee. And we had our Pink Breast Cancer Awareness Day. I guess this month also is dyslexia month. So next meeting it will be Red Day. So come dressed in your red as best as you can get. And
Before we adjourn, the mayor won the best pink outfit.
yes, I've been wanting this. I'd like to thank everybody who helped me get this. And all I want is world peace. With that, the meeting's adjourned. Thank you.
Boxers on.
I do. Yeah.
He's in that.